It is harder than it ought to be, explaining why recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital is a bad idea. The city has been Israel's center of government since 1948. While most countries have held off, the U.S. Congress passed a Jerusalem Embassy Act in 1995, which included a line recognizing the city as Israel's capital. President Trump campaigned on a promise to implement the act, and though he has previously followed other presidents in signing waivers suspending it, this week he has missed two deadlines, suggesting that he is strongly tempted to give it the go-ahead. If he does, it will derail the last hope of peace, according to the Palestinian Authority, and degrade U.S. influence in the world, as countries including Turkey have warned. These may not seem like persuasive arguments. The U.S. has willingly surrendered much of its standing, there is no peace process, and the reputation of both Turkey and the Palestinian Authority is low. But recognizing Israel's current version of Jerusalem would create enormous and new insoluble problems without addressing the real issues that beset the city. Israel's mutant version of Jerusalem is far larger than any historical iteration of the city. Israel only captured the Old City and adjoining Palestinian suburbs such as Silwan in 1967. A hastily written law was pushed through the Knesset declaring the territory had been annexed to Israel, and the city of Jerusalem had been reunited. According to the Geneva Conventions, territory acquired through war is under hostile military occupation in a formula that has endured since the defeat of fascism. Successive Israeli governments have argued the terms of the conventions do not apply to Jerusalem. However, in December 2016, the UN took a vote reaffirming that the Palestinian territories were under hostile occupation. Israel's attempt to pressure Trump's transition team in the run-up to the vote has now come within the scope of the Mueller investigation. Of all the issues at the heart of the enduring conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, none is as sensitive as the status of Jerusalem. The Holy City has been at the center of peacemaking efforts for decades. 70 years ago, when the UN voted to partition Palestine into Jewish and Arab states, Jerusalem was defined as a separate entity under international supervision. In the War of 1948 it was divided, like Berlin in the Cold War, into western and eastern sectors under Israeli and Jordanian control respectively. 19 years later, in June 1967, Israel captured the eastern side, expanded the city's boundaries and annexed it, an act that was never recognized internationally. Israel routinely describes the city, with its Jewish, Muslim and Christian holy places, as its united and eternal capital. For their part, the Palestinians say East Jerusalem must be the capital of a future independent Palestinian state. The unequivocal international view, accepted by all previous U.S. administrations, is that the city's status must be addressed in peace negotiations. Any move to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital would put the U.S. out of step with the rest of the world, and legitimize Israeli settlement building in the East considered illegal under international law.